day of classes. Today was, again, textiles, design, and CAD drawing. I'm wearing my fluffy-est jumper, and it's still freezing. These walks are probably going to suck in summer though. In textiles, we went further into weaves. I messed it up last week. Weave and knit are the two different types. So we were talking about weaves. Because if you go and buy fabric in the store, on the tag it'll say what it's made out of, like cotton or silk, polyester, and then it'll tell you like the type of weave, so a drill or a satin, and then it'll tell you the name of the fabric, whether it's like a gingham or a houndstooth or chiffon. And I'm gonna get these words mixed up a lot. I'm thinking of getting like a visual dictionary for all the different types of fabrics because it confuses the hell out of me. I just walk around the fabric store touching everything until I find what I want. So we learned about like different ways of laying weaves and how that affects the visual aspect and strength of a fabric. In design, so last week was lines, this week was shape. So you know how you have a line will create area, that area makes a shape, and then you have positive and negative space. So inside the shape, outside the shape of focus, you can have shapes that are geometric, shapes that are natural, organic, or maybe non-objective, they're just random. But shapes that have definitive maths in them are very aesthetically pleasing to human monkey brain. So maths is good apparently, so I'm gonna have to work on that. The CAD class was pleats. Last week was flares. This week is pleats. Oh my god. So we're just practicing drawing up different garments, and I actually got feedback on my drawing this week. I didn't get feedback last week. And the teacher likes how I do shadow and stuff, which is nice because I think I struggle with that a bit. I can't visualize it, so I kind of get up references online and use those instead. So I drew a new fashion figure, if anyone saw the stream. So we drew a figure based off of Bella, Hana's OC. Thank you, Hana. And I'm really enjoying drawing on Bella. The teacher really likes it, so that's good. I want to make a couple more figures. So if anyone wants to volunteer their body, okay. So I got a little bit of homework. I'm going to keep working on the drawing because it's the thing I have the most trouble with, the least amount of experience. Bye-bye! Just finished another day of sewing, so the construction class. I'm really tired, even though it's 3 p.m. because we've forgoed our like second break in order to just actually finish the work so we could go home early. Today I have possibly sewn the neatest seams I have ever sewn in my damn life. Actually doing them properly. Different types of seams, so just like open seams where you like, once you sew the seam, lay them flat and then flatten them, like open it like a butterfly and then flatten it down. And then a closed seam, which is just like fold it on a side and then flatten it down. I don't know if any of this makes sense verbally. Maybe I can put a picture in or something. Then we also did top stitching, so like a pin stitch, the really thin one, and a 6mm stitch. So like on jeans, or like where the hem is, there's like 2 lines. That, which is really neat. Like it just looks very aesthetically pleasing. Like a point stitch, so you cut like a little slot, so the fabric, oh my god, I can't explain it with words. I'm just gonna put a freaking picture in. I feel like there's a lot of, I just felt like 2 a.m. before a con, because just like starving because we didn't have our break, a second break, trying to smash this shit out. I got it all done, which means I can possibly go home earlier next week. I feel like I don't have a lot to say. We had 2 different teachers today, and they're not even our regular teacher. Even our teacher last week isn't our regular teacher. We still don't know who our teacher is. First lady was nice. Second lady kind of didn't want to be there. She was kind of in meetings all the time. I don't know. Just... We're repping gals. That's it. That's all I got. Okay, bye. I keep thinking of things during the day that I'm like, oh, I could talk about that in the vlog and stuff. And then I guess to actually walking home, my brain's just like, give me snacks. Just go brain dead. Like, for example, don't wear a black cotton dress on sewing days because you will get all the fibers stuck on it. Or how I found that there's a kitchen. So there's like a fridge and a microwave and all sorts of shit. So I can stop buying food. Spending so much money on buying food. A bunch of people went home really early today because they just got shit done fast. I feel like I got stuff done quickly. But then I spent ages trying to make all the hems look nice by tying off all the overlock threads and shit. This is what I meant. Closed seam. So there's your seam. And then we iron it down and overlock it in place. So it's nice and flat on the inside of the garment. That's the outside, and we don't want much of a lip, which just means you gotta be good at ironing. And then open seams, where, you know, you make your seam, and then you butterfly it and iron that flat, and then overlock it in place. You know, if two edges are meeting. Bigger one. On the top of your close seam, a pin stitch right along the edge of the fold. Looks crisp. Nice feel. 6 mil, so the other side. It's still like closed, but it doesn't look as aesthetic to me. I don't know. I guess you use that in shirts. Double top stitch, my fave. I just love top stitching. It looked nice. It's just the 2 previous stitches. And then that point thing. So there's the seam line. This was confusing to try and figure out how to lay the pattern pieces together. But there's like a little notch in the fabric there. And this is only doable because of the overlocker to keep everything nice and not frayed. And then the last one is a curve stitch, which is like a piece of a skirt. And then it has, oh, you can't see it because but there's like little notches in the fabric to allow for ease in the curve. I did this backwards the first time accidentally. But yeah, that's all I did today. And it took all day. But they're crisp. They're the nicest stitch lines I've ever freaking done. So I thought about something else from textiles. Our teacher used to work for something like the equivalent of Uniqlo. So really large, fast fashion brand. And one of the things she said was that when she did a trade drawing, so a specification sheet with a technical trade drawing on it, they don't normally do this, but they sent her back a sample being like, are you sure you want it this way? So you drew on the spec sheet like a zigzag line indicating the zip closure area. But how they interpreted it was a zip, like a zigzag stitch over the zip. So like you couldn't open it. So what normally would have happened is they would have produced like 10,000 units of this thing and then found out it doesn't work and then destroyed them, like just burn them, landfill them. Huge amount of waste. But yeah, that's a downside of one of the obvious downsides of fast fashion. It's a huge amount of throwing things out, not from like a consumer perspective, but from like an industrial perspective. I must be removing my makeup properly. It's by Friday. I look like a panda. It is a very dreary grey day today. I'm hoping it doesn't rain on me on my walk home. That would suck. I've got art books and shit. Anyway, it's been frustrating actually. So it's pattern making today, right? And like making a skirt block, so your base pattern, and then adapting that block into a new pattern, turning a simple straight line skirt into a shorter skirt with a split at the back, like a little walking split. I think it was frustrating because the teacher would like go through the steps but not explain why. And I think understanding why, not just how to do something, helps me understand it better. Ugh, my glass. The instructions were a little inconsistent from last week when teaching us like, oh, you should do this markings in this color to indicate this to the machinist, that kind of stuff. And then it didn't come up in this one. So I kind of just sneakily went back and redid my patterns so they are consistent. That's going to bother me otherwise. But yeah, otherwise, an okay day. The teacher mentioned, after in a dart, you would mark in on the pattern drill holes. And then proceeded to just talk about something else. And the class was kind of quiet and sort of looking at each other. I'm like, what are drill holes? Because like she didn't explain it. I didn't know if anyone knew what drill holes were. I didn't know what drill holes were. But essentially it's like if you have a dart, let's go for a V dart at the top of a skirt. At the very point at the bottom is where you would sew your seam to. If you're doing that like 30 times for 30 skirts for a production run, it's going to take a really long time. So apparently about a centimeter, and you either mark that on your pattern or it's standard. Above that point, you drill a hole through like all 30 of your pieces of fabric using this little machine. And that will make it easier for the machinists to just like batch process it. Another thing I learned or remembered that I learned on Wednesday, so I just get information overload on Wednesday and then I forget everything by the time it comes to doing these videos. Actually, what haute couture is, what it means. I'm going to use an example that we saw because this is like a video in the 90s. So you do your design and you put it on a model and you make it go down the runway and you have people and you watch it. So some people will be like, oh, okay, so I like design A, G, and F. And then they will contact you after the show and be like, I want to privately view these designs for the intent of purchasing them. But what makes it couture is that if they purchase a design, they may or may not be able to negotiate like adjustments, like maybe they wanted it shorter sleeved or something like that. But it will be tailored specifically and remade to their body. If there's multiple people interested in a design, they might mutually agree how many get to be run, who gets exclusivity, who gets to wear it when, and that could affect the price. So for the example that we saw, it was a woolen jacket modeled in the 90s by Naomi Campbell for a French guy I do not remember the name of, sorry dude. Hand woven wool. Couture stuff often has a focus on handcrafted, like down to the material, and that increases its value and fashionness, I guess. I did not record myself walking up the big hill because, Christ, I am unfit. I had to stop at a bus stop to readjust my bag, but it's backpack now. Woo! And my spine is not killing me because the whole weight of it is just like balanced on my butt. So, yay for having a sway back. What was that? Oh, haute couture. Yeah, so the example was this handmade woolen jacket, hand loomed, like it's not a machine making the fabric, it's like an old-fashioned loom and shit. And 3 women wanted it. And they only wanted to be the only ones. And they agreed to not wear it at specific events so as to not clash or whatever. And each jacket sold for $20,000 US. And I'm like looking at this video at these like little village French girls looming this shit. I'm like, how much that 20K you getting, girl? So couture is essentially small run, customized releases that may or may not have exclusivity and adjustments as part of the negotiations. But yeah, that's actually what couture means. Cool. can you imagine how cool it would be to do like a small sample run, and then someone would wear that because it's specially made for them? That'd be cool. I just have a little bit of homework. Again, it's from drawing class because we can't draw, so we might see if we can do some of that on stream. So keep an eye out for that. It's Friday, so I'm just looking forward to LARP tonight. It's a good way to wing down the week. I know this is a fashion blog, but it would be remiss of me not to shill LARP at every available opportunity. So if you can get to Sunnybank on a Friday night, then you can come and you be a little fantasy man and smack some nerds. Or if smacking's not your thing, you can just be a little fantasy man and have a good time. Yeah, Swordcraft Brisbane. Check it out. I'll see you there.